النقيب.
ماكو بريك اليوم. انزين، راح اسوي كود سويتش، بدال لا اقدم بالعربي راح اقدم بالانجليزي. راح ابلش مع الانترودكشن الحين بناء على الموضوع. Picture this. You decided to start your own creative endeavor, your entrepreneurial endeavor, and you're thriving. You're exceeding expectations. But there is a catch. You're the admin guy, you're the finance guy, you're the contract guy, you're the sales guy, all in one. You have to run the entire show on your own. Starting a creative business is daunting enough, but doing it on your own is a mountain that not many people have conquered. And I'm blessed to be joined by fantastic women who have succeeded in that endeavor. To my right, Noor Alnaqeeb, filmmaker and a photographer with over 10 years of experience. Her most latest project was covering the Paris 2024 Olympics. Dalia E, I consider her a friend, as well as an architect and a multidisciplinary designer and an upcycle specialist. And Sara Alkandari, a ceramicist, as well as an illustrator, who has your own brand. You have your own brand as well. Thank you, ladies, for joining me. Now, I want to start right at the beginning, and we'll start with you, Noor, specifically when it comes to making the decision to start this endeavor on your own. I'm sure a lot of thoughts were going through your head, a lot of yeah, maybes. So what led you to ultimately make that decision? What were the factors that led you to be like, okay, I can do this and I want to go forward with this?
That's a really good question. If we're going to start there, then we'll start at the very beginning. I always wanted to be in media production. I did my undergraduate in Ireland in media production. I worked with a production company for 3 years. I did my master's in filmmaking in the UK. And then I worked in London for 6 years at a production company. And when I was there, it was day in, day out, editing, shooting, doing everything, traveling every single month to a different country to do these international shoots. And it came to the end of 2021, and I had an opportunity to go freelance, to go solo. And I was looking at my career, and I saw all these amazing things that I'd done with these wonderful people I'd worked with. And I thought, this is great, but is this all that there is? Because if I'm with a company, I'm always in the constraints of a company. And that's a wonderful environment to learn in, but it is not the best environment to expand in. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to also spend more time in Kuwait, because I'm from here and I have not been here very much since I was 18. And I went freelance and I started working in commercial spaces as well, doing fashion and food and lifestyle. And now I'm lucky to say that I have the best of both worlds. I still have my international shoots in documentaries and sports production, and then I have my commercial shoots in Kuwait.
What would you say is more fun?
Oh, that's so hard. When you're interviewing Snoop Dogg at the Olympics, that's more fun, but then when you're here and you're working with a bunch of people that are just creative and excited and doing something new, that's more fun.
I think nothing beats interviewing Snoop Dogg, if I were me.
Yeah, sorry guys.
But anyway, Dalia, I remember vividly when you texted, we were in a group chat, and you were like, hey guys, I quit my job. And then I was like, what now? And then a lot of things happened, and you're thriving right now as like an upcycling. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. And I think a lot of like the audience would like to know what that means as well. So if you can elaborate more on, number one, the moment that you decided to quit the job, and number two, what upcycling is and why you think it's so important.
For sure, thank you. What now with you and my parents both? When I quit my job, they were like, why? Upcycling is basically to take something, a product, a space, an item, change the function of it, and also make it more, even though this is subjective, aesthetically pleasing. So you change how something looks aesthetically, but also what the function of it is. It's something that's very, very meaningful to me because it's preservational in the sense that you don't throw things away. You take things and you make them better and you keep them. And then later on somebody else can take them and make them better for their times or what they need and change them down the line. And so you're adding to a story rather than always like erasing and starting from scratch. So that's why upcycling was really important to me. And when I realized it was important to me, I was working a full-time architecture job, which was an incredible experience. It was a really good learning opportunity for me to learn how a company runs, how to draft emails, how to save files, how accounting works, and all of the above. But also, I realized that what I wanted to do, there was so much waste in people's mentalities. People were constantly wanting to erase or start from scratch or demolish and rebuild. And I was noticing that in the architecture field, and I was noticing it in other fields that I worked in as well. And so when I started doing upcycling, it was small. I was at home, I was making little videos for TikTok, and I was working my full-time job. And then I never set out to be a solopreneur, it just happened. I was working, and this idea that I had started to take off. And so with nothing but an idea, no solid plan, no business idea, nothing, I quit my job to pursue it full-time.
I'm sure there were like, yeah, buts and, you know, a bit of like hesitation when taking that career. And obviously the beginning wasn't so easy. So how did you like persevere during like the hard times?
Delusion, literally. Like seriously, just believing in myself more than I should is what pushes me constantly, even when it comes to like developing an idea. I don't have much of a plan. I just know I could do it. That's it. That's all I have going for me. And people will be like, it's not going to work. Structurally, it's not going to work. The paint is not going to hold this. I just believe. I know it's going to work, and I don't know how to explain it, but I do, and I push myself. And it's really, really, really just about believing in yourself too much. Like,
Being
you're
like
your
the creme
biggest
de la
cheerleader.
creme.
Literally.
Yeah. Now move on to Sara. You actually just recently, just a few minutes ago, we were like going over the panel. You talked about how, hey, I just quit my job. So you're like the latest
I'd love
inductee
to
to
repeat
the
whatever
Quit
you
My
just
Job
said.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So let's go to you. Walk us through the day you decided to be like, yes, I can't do this anymore. I want to do this full time.
Okay, so for me, I actually didn't start off with the idea of starting a business. It was merely for fun. I created my own, cups and mugs with cute little doodles for my friends and family. And then it slowly escalated into a brand. So we went through the same experience in terms of the idea. It was merely a hobby. I feel like most of creative work starts off as a hobby and then escalates slowly with people's interest. So without, posting on social media and constantly being engaged with the audience, I wouldn't have had a brand. So yeah, I was in my third year of university. I was posting constantly. I was a consumer of TikTok, so I knew what was trendy and not. And it started to pick up, especially I noticed a lot of international, consumers. So that's the interesting part. I graduated and then took it a bit more seriously. I started to work with cafes and restaurants. I was making mass production on my own, like mugs and saucers and spoons. And this mentality of having a stable job with a stable income, which I'm with, but with the work I'm doing, it's a bit more tedious. So I was an English teacher for a year, and then I recently quit with the start of this year. I saw it as, I wouldn't say a waste of time, but time I could spend creating and actually growing a business and taking it seriously. So yeah, now I am I wouldn't say a mass production ceramicist. I'd say I have two lines of work: my personal work, which I usually sell on my website, and then my production work, in which I work with cafes and restaurants.
Excellent.
So yeah.
Right, thank you for that. Now we'll move on to the next question. So when people think not just solo entrepreneurship, but also freelance, I hear this a lot. They take the word free very loosely, being like, my time is my time. I can do whatever I want. I can do what I want when I want. No one's my boss. No one can tell me what to do. I don't think that's the case. And I think I've seen that firsthand. So walk us through your daily life as a solo entrepreneur. Is it really as fine and dandy as people think it is?
Your time is your own, but the problem is if you've decided to go freelance or become a solopreneur, you want to fill your time every single moment and do what you're trying to succeed in. I think also when you're working in videography and photography, I was trained in shooting and editing and producing and directing. So for me, I can go into a job and hire any of those roles and fill one of them, or I can fill all of them if it's a smaller production. that makes it even harder to say no because you are using all of your time. But there's this school of thought that's jack of all trades, master of none. But the full quote is actually jack of all trades, master of none, although better than master of one. And I really subscribe to that because I'd rather be able to talk to the camera operator in his language, in his technical language, or the editor if I'm just directing it. But again, that just means that you don't have that much free time. But when you get to that point, you can then start niching down. You can start scaling back. You can see what you want to end up doing. And the thing that I've learned recently is your yes doesn't mean much if you don't know how to say no. Because when you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to 100 other things that could have happened at the same time. So you do learn the value of that eventually.
Okay, Dalia, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was going to say this idea that freelancers have complete control over their schedule, it doesn't fly because I don't have control over my schedule. My deadlines and my workload is what controls my schedule. So depending on how much work I have and what my deadlines are, that's what my schedule is based around. And on the days where I wake up, and this happens sometimes, I'll wake up and I'll think, oh, I don't have any client work to do today. These items are drying, all my proposals are sent, my quotations are shared, I'm waiting for people to respond to me. I don't have any client work. Okay, today I'm working on content creation, I'm working on filming and editing, and I'm working on the marketing aspect of what I do. So your work never stops. And especially if you're the person controlling your entire business, you are constantly thinking of new things to do. And sometimes you have to stop and think, okay, this is not important right now. I don't need to be doing this. I need to take time off. But the truth is your 24 hours, or let's say your 12 hours, is spent, if it's not spent on client work, it's spent on personal work. And if it's not spent on personal work, it's spent thinking about the next steps that you want to take. So your brain is constantly working and your schedule is constantly filled.
I want to go back to your point regarding like deciding when to take a day off. How do you balance freedom and responsibility when being a solo entrepreneur?
That's a really good question. Some days I just go by burnout. Some days I wake up and I'm like, all right, today's the day, I can't do anything. But other than that, I'm actually pretty rigid about weekends. I try not to work on weekends. I try not to respond to clients on weekends, unless it's urgent, of course. And I try to force myself to turn off and switch off, because even sometimes if I'm sitting not doing anything, I'm like, oh, I should be editing. No, I don't need to be editing. I can just be sitting and not doing anything. So yeah, I'm pretty rigid about weekends, honestly.
Okay, but what if it's a client that gives you like a massive deal worth a lot of money?
I'll take it.
Then yes, work on weekends.
Work on the weekends.
Sara, can you give us your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think in terms of schedule, I think my schedule depends on my creativity and my energy. So I can show up. My dad would love this question because he was like, okay, you're quitting your job, you're gonna show up to work at 8 and then you're gonna come back for lunch at 2. But that's not really the case, because I can wake up and show up. I could be at the studio but not feel like working. Or like Dalia said, I'm doing admin work, I'm doing accounting, I'm taking videos. So it's a bit tight, because I think even my cousins can agree. I rarely have weekends off. I think it's a problem with me. It's because it started as a hobby, so you love to produce. So it's hard to, there's a very thin line between doing it as a job and doing it for fun. Inshallah, I'll work on it.
Inshallah. I want to go back to talking about challenges, because I think Dalia brought up a really good point regarding burnout, regarding the tough days, because as many bright and sunny days you have some rainy days. You have a lot of them. Some days where you want to quit, some days where you question. The word imposter syndrome keeps coming back, where you're like, I'm here, how am I here? How did I get here? So how do you deal with these days?
Well, this might be controversial. I don't really believe in imposter syndrome. I believe in feeling nervous because you're about to enter an unfamiliar work situation. But I think most of the time when you're in a room, you're there because you worked hard to get there. And I really have to feel that when I'm there. Otherwise, if I'm not believing in myself, why would anyone else? So when I'm doing really cool things and I see behind the scenes photos of a production, I go, oh, that was really cool. I don't go, oh, I shouldn't have been there, because then why am I doing what I'm doing? I have to believe in myself first and foremost.
I mean, you got to interview Snoop Dogg, so you had to believe in yourself, right?
Those pictures were wild.
Yeah. Dalia?
I unfortunately do believe in imposter syndrome. before I submit an idea and when I'm coming up with an idea, again, so much belief in myself, I'm totally going to be able to do this. After I finish, I'm a genius. Wow, that's like the best thing I've ever done. Amazing. In the middle, so much self-doubt. So much, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Is this going to dry on time? I took way more than I could chew. I'm not going to be able to finish. Why did I do this? Blah, blah, blah. I don't have any real good advice if you're in that situation besides just push yourself and keep going. Like, you're going to get to the end of it. It's like with a run, for example. Throughout your run, if you're anything like me, you're like, why am I doing this? I want to die. But then afterwards, you're like, that was the best thing I've ever done. I'm a goddess, like, amazing. So when it comes to work, you kind of want to be the same. Even if you're feeling like you don't understand why you're doing this, or you don't understand why you were chosen, or you feel like this wasn't the job for you, keep going. It's going to finish, it's going to end, and then you're going to look back and you're going to be like, that was amazing. And if not, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, this is what I learned from this experience. Next time, set a longer deadline. Next time, maybe charge more, take account drying time or whatever it is, and then write it all down. And then because you're always going to doubt yourself, you just have to keep pushing through.
Sarah?
Yeah, as for me, I believe like we grow in discomfort. So I actually started, the mass production world with saying yes constantly to projects that I'm not sure that, okay, I am deep down, sure I'm going to be able to produce. But it starts off with saying yes and knowing you can do it if you actually put yourself out there and, making the path for yourself, especially because it's not like a stable job with rules and set books. It's something you create. If you take yourself seriously, people are going to take you seriously. Whether it's with pay, like checks, and you have to act like you know what you're doing. That's what be delusional.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the biggest lesson we learned today. But anyway, I want to take things back to here, to Kuwait, to the sector in general. In your opinion, how do you see Kuwait better supporting the creative sector, or anything that you would see or you would like to change or maybe amend to make it better for future solo entrepreneurs, anyone that wants to get involved? Like, what would you change about the sector here?
I don't know if it's something I would change, more that I think what people are doing in the community is really good, and I wish that they would just grow on that and keep going with that. Because I know at the end of the day, it's a business, it's competitive, but the best way for us to move forward in Kuwait's creative sector is to have that sense of community and people to come together and work together and be excited about it, because over competition should always be community, I think.
Dalia?
I think I have like a two-part answer. I think there's an incredible pool of creatives in Kuwait, like incredible, and I think that it would do to actually utilize these creatives rather than importing help from outside. I think support the creative sector here in Kuwait, hire them for jobs, more jobs for local jobs, and then in this idea of sort of bringing help from outside, there's also, as a non-Kuwaiti myself, there's a lot of local expats who are also incredible in the creative field, and I think that I feel like it would be amazing for Kuwait to also be able to give them more opportunities to freelance, to be more creative designers themselves, and then that way we don't have to bring help from the outside. You have all the help you need here. Kuwait has a really wonderful pool of creatives and designers.
You have a second part?
No, that was it. I merged them.
Okay. Sara?
As for me, I think like quitting your job, it's actually very supportive in that you can do it full time. You get دعم العمالة while not having to rent space. So I think that's a huge step forward because you don't have to worry about financials, and events like these and communities, and actually, working with people in my field and leaving the whole gatekeeping part out of it and just actually, growing together separately. Yeah.
Okay, we'll just go to the last question, which is the very general advice question. So let's say we're talking about your original self. What advice would you give the person that's about to quit their job and get into solo entrepreneurship before getting into that field? Would you advise them to go forward? Would you advise them to do something differently? What are your thoughts?
I think Go forward. Always do what you want to do. If you have a passion, go for it. Say yes to everything at the beginning, because you'll learn what you can do, what you can't do, what you need to learn, and also if you genuinely like it, because you might have an idea about it and then you get into it and you don't think that you can do it long term. I think it's just a testament to yourself to see how far you can go with that. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think, you're not alone. Like, it's so isolating to be a solopreneur. Like, it really is. You, again, because you do everything yourself, you're the accountant, the secretary, the assistant, you're the videographer, and the marketing team. It is really isolating, right? Because you're working by yourself and you don't really have people to talk to. So create a network of like-minded creatives, like-minded individuals, other entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, and like admit to yourself that you don't know everything and you can't know everything. So when you're able to get help or outsource, do it. It's important. It's important to first of all foster a community, and second of all, it's important to also pave the way for other people to be able to follow. So create a network of people around you, family, friends, people that you can get advice from, legal advice, financial advice, all of the above, and learn from them. So that, because some days you're not going to talk to a lot of people, so it's nice to have people that you can reach out to speak to. And then I'll just say very quickly, like another piece of advice, if you do decide to be a solopreneur, utilize social media. Like, I cannot tell you how beneficial social media has been to my career. It is a free marketing tool. You're able to reach your audience yourself and understand what they want more of, what they want less of, whether they like your prices, whether they like the work that you do. Utilize social media, create videos, create content. Like, trust me, just do it.
For me, I think I'd say, since it started as a hobby, financial stability is very important. So I encourage people to get full-time jobs. Actually, يعني بالبداية, you can have a full-time job and do a creative, side hustle. And then when you are confident enough that this will stand on its own, you can then release that and move forward with your creative path. So yeah, growing my business and growing my hobby, everyone needs financial support. So that with social media, because you need to market, you need to sell your product, and not just your product, your actual, it's a personal journey, it's like an emotion. You're selling something that's not just, a piece. Anyone can make a mug, but showing you the process, and, people love emotion, people love, passionate people. So yeah, be passionate.
I'm going to continue the trend of asking like a last personal question for everyone that I did with the past two. So out of all the works that you've done, and you're not allowed to say Snoop Dogg, what would you say is like the highest achievement, or like the thing that you're the most proud of since starting the solo entrepreneurship journey?
Oh man, that's a hard question. This last year I did 8 months. Once a month I went to a different country for this production. I don't know if anyone's a sports fan over here, but it's the World Rugby Sevens. And I led the content team, or co-led it for a couple of the events. We created podcasts, studios, lifestyle shows, and I was in a different country for 10 days of every month, quite literally all over the world. And it just was amazing to be immersed in it. It felt good, it felt right, and it just was the culmination of all of the hard work up until that point. And then at the end of that, I went to the Olympics. So it was almost like this whole year has been like, yes, you're on the right track, it's going good.
That's amazing, first of all. I'm like a fan of my own work. Every time I finish a project, I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever done. But
Guys, clap for Dalia, please.
No. Thank you. One of my favorite collaborations is actually with Virgin Mobile. They had reached out to me to make furniture. They told me to go into their storage space and use whatever I want to create whatever I want for an event. And they had a lot of these MDF campaign boards that they put around malls and airports and all of these things. And we took these boards and we made flat pack furniture out of them for the event. And this was like, I did get help obviously from carpenters and painters who were able to cut the pieces for me. But this was my first real large-scale project that to this day I'm incredibly proud, not only because I was able to create those pieces, but because a company as big as Virgin was able to see the potential in designing sustainably and in using those designs to tell a story. So it was a really beautiful moment where I realized there is value in my work and other people are seeing that value.
Okay, as for me, I think it's my mass production orders, my projects. So the first project I took, I still remember the meeting. I was sat down and they, told me like, we want a few hundred mugs. And I was, one person making 100 pieces. I was gaslit شوية. But I said yes. And I managed to produce hundreds of pieces that are identical with my bare hands. But I'm proud.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Mic drop.
Yeah, we're astounded. We're just like, whoa.
All right. From my end, you guys have covered everything that I needed to know. Thank you guys so much. And now we'll shift to the audience for questions. So if anyone has any questions, please raise your hands. There's one over there. There's one over there and there's one over there.
تحية لكم جميعا. أنا أعرف معظمكم هني ربعي، خصوصا كفيلم ميكرز. عندي سؤال، بما أن احنا يعني الكرييتنج واحد في الإبداع واحد، بسأل إن الإنسان مثلا اللي فينا أو المبدع اللي فينا مرات يمر بمراحل، مرات يضطر إنه يشتغل بشيء مثلا يكون صنايعي. شنو الفرق بين أكون أنا آخذ العمل هذا كأكون صنايعي إني مجرد إني أخلصه، وأكون مبدع؟ بينك وبين الكلاينت مرات متعود على شغل، خلاص أنا لازم عندي تايم، عندي هذا لازم أخلصه، معني أنا مو مبدع فيه، أبى أخلصه، جس أنا أبى أكون صنايعي.
Okay, fair. يعني بس عشان نترجم السؤال عدل بالإنجليزي. So what you're asking is يعني شو الفرق يعني مثلا البروجكت اللي بس I get paid to do it وخلص، والباشن بروجكت اللي أنا أبي أبدع فيه.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's fine. So, I mean, am I okay to take this? Okay. So with passion project, you have, I'm actually in the middle of doing a passion project, in the middle of doing all the paid projects. It's tough because it's something you really want to work forward towards, but it's the one that doesn't take the priority of time. You have to carve out your own time, and when you're saying yes to things that people are counting on you and you have deadlines and it's for a marketing campaign or whatever, you really have to say no to the passion projects until you get the paid stuff done. Because at the end of the day, you are running a business, even though you're one person doing everything.
Dalia?
I would say a lot of it comes from the clients. Sometimes the clients micromanage a little bit. They try to control the outcome of the project rather than letting the creative take over. And so when that starts to happen, sometimes, I'm not saying this is right, but sometimes you feel a bit stifled, or you start to create just for the sake of creating because there's no more communication between you and the client. They're not listening to what you think is best, and you need to get this project submitted and done. I think that sometimes it comes from the kind of client that you have, that forces you to choose between whether or not you're going to go all out with تبدع زي ما أنت قلت, or you're going to work on it as work, do the requirements as they are listed, and just submit it.
هو بالبداية أنا كنت آخذ المشاريع بهدف مادي، لأن كان مشروع صغير وكان عندي إعانة جامعية وما كان عندي المصاريف، كان عندي وايد مصاريف لأن it's a very expensive craft، وخاصة ما عندنا السبلايز اللي موجودة بالكويت، فلازم كل شيء imported من برا. فأقدر أقول أن بالبداية كنت أشوف إنه مو مهم الإبداع، إذا قاعد أخذ مشاريع مع مشاريع ثانية مو شغلي الخاص، ما يعكس بالضبط فكرتي أو طريقة رسوماتي. بعدين لما صار عندي الثقة وصار عندي الميزانية إني أبدع وأبي أبدع بالمشاريع، دائما يكون في بالميتينج إنه يكون عندي مثلا فكرة، هم يقولوا لي هم شنو يبون وأنا أقدم فكرتي أنا. إذا فكرتهم ما ناسبت فكرتي أو شفت إنه يمكن الباث هذا ما يوالمني أو طريقة الألوان، طريقة الصنع something that's copied from another brand, I decline. فأشوف مهم إنه بالبداية تقول إي بعدين تقدر تقول لا، لأن خلاص عندك الثقة وعندك you know you're confident with your work.
أنا عندنا سؤال هناك. حسين صوب الثاني.
Sorry. First of all, I just want to say you guys are hella inspirational. This was amazing. You've given amazing advice on social media and how to utilize it. But I would like to know specifically if you've gone through any challenges on social media. And how did you if you had any moments of doubt that maybe you're posting too much and you can't find that reaction or can't find that community. So what did you do where you found the breakthrough and found the community and people started to value your work?
Look, to be honest, I have been very lucky on my journey on social media. In fact, the reason that I was able to quit my job is because social media was a really great community for me from the start, to be honest. However, I will say that even though I have built a beautiful community, especially on TikTok, and I have, look, the idea is you want to constantly create something that people can take value from. You want to create something that people are interested in seeing or watching or learning more about or creating. And so you keep putting that content out, and then people who are interested are always going to flock back and watch your videos and go over your content, reach out to you if they're businesses or clients or whatever it is. Recently, because of the situation in Palestine, I have been shadow banned, unfortunately, but persevere, push through, because even the things that you don't believe are going viral, if they reach 100 people, that's 100 people. Like, I think that sometimes we overlook how big these numbers are. If you create a video and 100 people watch it, that's 100 people watching your video. If you're sitting in a room and there's 100 people watching you speak, that's a lot of people. So don't let the numbers, don't let the virality of it all get to you. It doesn't matter. Push content out there. The right people who want to see it will see it. And eventually you will create something that I think will go big at some point. But even if it doesn't, every small video, every small piece of content, you're chipping away at something bigger.
Thanks, Dalia.
Thank you.
Okay, this will be our last question.
Hi guys. So, I don't want to bring the room down, but I have a bit of a practicality question. So if you were to go back to when you started, you can appreciate the risk you're taking by leaving your jobs and going to solopreneurship. Now, you're sitting here, you're very successful, you've done so many things, but if I came to you, if I heard this talk and if I went and started something and it didn't work and I took all the advice and I said, I'm going to double down on the passion and just keep going, and it still doesn't work, what would you, if I came and said, I did everything you said and it still didn't work, and what would you tell me? What advice would you give somebody that if they tried again, tried a third time, and still doesn't work? Is it because they're just not good at what they think they're good at, or something else?
I don't mean to oversimplify the answer at all, but keep going. Because honestly, when I finished my studies in the UK, there was no student to work program. It was either get a job or get kicked out of the country. I had a month. I applied to every job under the sun in TV production and digital. And then in 1 week, I got 3 job offers. It is just keep going, and it will work out.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, keep going, but also self-reflect. Try to understand where you might be going wrong, because it's totally normal for there to be a point that you're overlooking. Talk to other people, talk to other creatives, see what it is that you're doing, write it down, and then if you feel like you're still doing everything right, like Noor said, keep going. Otherwise, self-reflect, go back, fix it, and then continue again.
I'd like to add something. It's important, the intention of your practice. So if your intention is, well, I want to create a creative practice because I want to make money. I want to quit my job, I want to do this full time. If you love something, it will automatically grow because you like it, because you want to make it great, not because you want to, be successful. So the intention is very important here.
I think I'll add one more thing. Don't compare yourself to others, and just compare your journey with your own journey, and just take every single day as it comes, rather than seeing I want to be like a person next, I want to be like Khaled, I want to be like, no. Just look at your own journey, take your own case as your own case, and take it day by day. Because if you're going to be comparing yourself to others, you're going to be like just chasing success forever, and you're never going to be satisfied.
Amazing, thank you.
There's a hand here.
Hi. First of all, wow, the 3 of you, mashallah. My question is more a girl question. I'm looking into going into my own business, inshallah, sometime soon. And finances. Like, I am so scared because I do not know math. But is there sources? Is there things that I can look at, YouTube videos? Like, what would you guys recommend?
Come talk to me after, we'll chat. We'll talk
Inshallah.
finances. There are so many resources that I can talk to you about.
Okay, great, thank you. The rest of you?
I think we go through this, يعني we're going through the same problem. خاصة when you do it as a full-time business لأن في رخصة and then there's like yearly finances. فeither for me I have I'm financial. My cousin is in finance, okay? But I usually give that to someone else. That's the thing with solopreneurs. عادي, you can ask for help. You can let someone set up an Excel sheet and you just fill it up to make it easier for you.
Keep track of everything is rule number one. Have a spreadsheet.
I think we'll end it there. So, ladies, thank you guys. Thank you so much for all of your inputs, and I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much.
Sura.